Trump has complained about Pam Bondi repeatedly to aides. Thank you, and I yield back.
Objection. Gentleman yields back.
Hold down.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I thank the chairman.
May I have 20 seconds, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let's hear the opposition research.
Thank you. That's absolutely right, that they're not running for, he's not running for office again because, well, I don't know why you're not running for office again, but after the filing deadline, you publicly announced you would not run when your chief of staff, Patty Garcia, announced and took your seat.
That's a state matter. That isn't a federal matter. You should investigate crimes.
You should investigate
belongs to the gentleman
violations
from
of the law.
Texas. The time belongs to
She
the
is
gentleman
pulling
from
straws
Texas.
right now.
And a little flexibility in the time. I appreciate the chairman. Madam Attorney General, am I correct that under your leadership, the Department of Justice has prosecuted cases of non-citizen voting? So it's false, as some of my Democratic colleagues have claimed, that it doesn't happen.
Yes.
I ask that today because we're voting on the Save America Act today to enact common sense policies to ensure only American citizens vote in American elections and enact federal voter ID laws. But it's true, for example, that in just this month, a federal grand jury in Newark indicted 2 men with illegally voting in federal election and making false statements. Mohammed Muzammil and Mohammed Shakil were non-citizens at the time they registered to vote. This happens, it happens regularly, and you're prosecuting those crimes, correct?
Yes.
But does that prosecution of those criminals overturn their previously cast votes?
That's all pending.
But it does not overturn votes that they've cast, right? So passing the Save
no,
America
Congressman.
Act would help deal with
Our
that
nation's
problem.
capital.
Yes, Congressman.
Second question. As Attorney General, you're in charge of the Executive Office of Immigration Review, correct?
Yes, Congressman.
The Biden-Mayorkas regime caused the immigration court case backlog to explode, correct?
Explode.
Does that sound about right, that in September of 2020, 4 months before President Biden took office, there was a backlog of 1.5 million cases, but by the time President Biden left office, the backlog reached nearly 4.2 million cases?
It sounds about right, but I don't have the exact numbers.
It would be accurate to say that most individuals who file for asylum have a meritless or fraudulent claim?
Most. I don't have the numbers.
Oh, so does it sound correct that of the asylum cases adjudicated in FY 2023 under the Biden regime, that only 14% resulted in an asylum grant and only 12% in fiscal year 2024? Does that sound correct?
It sounds correct. I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers.
Could you get that information to us to
Yes,
verify
absolutely.
that data?
I'll get all that information to you.
If you don't,
Under the Trump administration, immigration judges complete an average of 65,000 cases per month, the highest average completion rate in at least a decade. Does that sound correct?
That sounds correct.
Ms. Bondi, how many new cases under EOIR received in fiscal year 2025 have you all had? And of those, what percentage have been granted asylum? Do you know?
I can try to get you those numbers. I thought I had those.
That'd be great, because my question is whether President Trump's decision to pause asylum in the wake of the shooting of a National Guardsman by an Afghani here in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital, helped to stop the backlog in your office. Does that sound correct?
Yes, Congressman.
My point being that the leadership of this administration is ending the backlog, reducing the backlog, making sure that we don't have fraudulent asylum claims clogging it, and keeping Americans safe. Is that correct?
Yes, Congressman.
So a couple other quick questions on another important topic that has been raised by colleagues on both sides of the aisle with respect to the Epstein case. A few questions. One, Jeffrey Epstein was charged in July 2019 for sex trafficking under the Trump administration in his first term. Is that correct?
Yes, Congressman.
And that Ghislaine Maxwell was charged in 2020 also under the Trump administration, correct?
Yes, Congressman.
So it is safe to say that the administration led on that issue and that there was silence in the previous administration. Is that correct?
Yes, Congressman. Almost complete silence from everyone who's been trying to still talk about Epstein. They didn't say a word under the Biden administration. Nothing.
And I want to make one other point and then another question, though, that is important. I want to make one observation, and that is that we've heard the information today, which is troubling, that Jane Doe's, that victims' information was made public and was unredacted in the files that were released on Friday. So my question is, some of us had argued when we were dealing with the discharge petition in Congress, that when Congress inserted itself into the process, that we needed to be very careful to ensure that we were protecting victims. So a question that is both, I just want to make that clear that some of us were fighting for that here and we didn't get a chance to amend it or change it. So that was concerning. But a question a little more pointed, I have to say, is why, though, were the victims' names released that shouldn't have been? That there were names in the files, that these Jane Does, that their names shouldn't have been made public, when there were some accusers whose names were redacted. That's question one. And question two, was that Ghislaine Maxwell was put in jail for trafficking minors. Rightly so, and you properly said here at this table, you hope she dies in jail. Well, I want to know, will anyone besides her or Epstein, which I congratulate President Trump's previous administration and this Department of Justice for continuing all of that, but that they were indicted, but will anyone else be indicted and prosecuted under this, given the information that's in front of us? So 2 questions.
Thank you for letting me answer that. They didn't want to hear my answer on the other side. Yes, given the tight time frame of 30 days, I believe we got everything released within a little over 60 days. I'm talking as fast as I can. My time is up. We did the best we could immediately. If everyone's been coming to view the documents, if someone's name should not have been redacted, we're releasing it. If someone's name was redacted, we said right away, was not redacted and should have been, meaning a victim. We went back and redacted it. We're doing everything we can based on the tight time frame and over 3 million pages that we released that Donald Trump signed for pure transparency. Second, what was your second question?
About whether another individual will be indicted
absolutely.
and
Thank you for asking that. And they never wanted to hear the answer to that. We have pending investigations in our office.
Time of the gentleman has expired. Unanimous consent request from the gentleman from Pennsylvania.
Thank you. I have several UCs
Like
as
to proceed?
receipts. I'd like to have unanimous consent to introduce the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7 dated September 25th, 25.
Without objection.
The Bondi Department of Justice memo dated December 4th, 2025.
Without objection.
An article from Newsweek entitled DOJ Deletes Study Alleging Rise in Far-Right Terrorism dated September 18th, 2025.
Without objection.
Notice article from October 3rd, 2025. Trump's directive on organized political violence could lead to increased surveillance of his critics.
Without objection.
Washington Post article, September 25th, 2025. Trump targets domestic terrorists, but only mentions the radical left.
Without objection.
Idaho Capital Sun, October 18th, 2025. Rest easy, Idahoans. The No King demonstrators are American patriots.
Without objection.
Attacks on freedom of speech, what nonprofits need to know, published by the National Council of Nonprofits, the largest network of nonprofits in America.
Without objection.
My man,
Freedom
thanks for
from
tapping
Religious
in.
Foundation warns that Bondi memo weaponizes
So we all
federal
didn't
law
get this damn
enforcement
chat back
against
working right.
non-Christians and dissenting viewpoints.
Without objection.
A Ken Klipperstein blog from January 28th, 26, ISIS secret watch lists of Americans.
Without objection.
And an Intercept article from February 2nd, 26, Trump calls his enemies terrorists. Does that mean he can kill them?
Without objection. The
Thank
gentleman
you.
from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning,
There
Attorney
we
General.
go, big Moskowitz in this
Good
bitch.
afternoon.
Oh, you're right. It's good afternoon. It's been a long day. I wrote this morning. We've known each other a long time, and I'll always be appreciative for your assistance when you were Attorney General in Florida after the shooting at my high school at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in my hometown of Parkland when we passed a bipartisan bill, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, which was the largest policy response to a school shooting in American history. Your department also prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law a constituent of mine and former felon that had plans to kill me when he was picked up by law enforcement after he was target practicing in his backyard with 2 rifles, a scope, a silencer, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, an anti-Semitic manifesto. My name was the only name on their target list, and my kids found out about this from their friends at school. So
That's
thank you.
crazy.
However, the most transparent administration in American history. Before Trump, we didn't know the word transparency, apparently. It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part 1 of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk. Then a memo came out and said that there was no
Hey,
list.
thanks, Peter.
Phase 2 of the binders never happened. The President of the United States says the Epstein thing is a hoax. He blasts his own base for wanting the release of the files. He blamed Barack Obama. Republicans voted against the release of the files in the Rules Committee. Then they refused to even return to the Rules Committee until they could be protected from future votes on the release. Speaker Johnson sends Congress home a day early before break. They sent the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell. She says something favorable about the president. Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security facility. No one can explain why. Miraculously, the leaks to the Wall Street Journal stop. We come back from break. We have the Massey discharge petition. Republicans drop a rule, a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massey discharge petition. The White House says passing the Massey discharge petition is a hostile act. Trying to stop the necessary 218 signatures, according to Republican members that signed it, the White House brought them into the Situation Room, you know, the place where the president goes for time of war, promising things like appropriations or maybe even to primary them. People in the room say you were there. It didn't work. We get the 218 signatures. We eventually passed the Massey petition. You guys didn't release the files. You were forced by Congress. Every member of the House except one and the entire Senate. The reason the president signed it is because it was a veto-proof majority. We can't agree on anything, and yet the entire House but one member and the whole Senate forced the administration to release the files. Kash Patel under oath said to Senator Kennedy, the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. We know now that's not true. According to documents, Epstein had a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Girls from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Paris, modeling agencies sending him girls. He even had a relationship with a summer camp where he groomed girls at a picnic table. Ghislaine Maxwell says 29 Epstein associates cut secret DOJ deals. Turns out there is a list. 6 names readily available if you unredact them. Co-conspirators named, but we got them when you unredact them. Maxwell recently tells a House Oversight Committee that she wants clemency to release more names. Kash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick says that in 2008, he went to Epstein's home, says he had a massage table in the living room, that Epstein said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage. He and his wife decide to leave and say they'll never be in a room with him again. Howard then says, I'm sure the Epstein stuff is all on video. He was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Well, how would Howard know that? But now the files are public, and in 2012, we find out that he and his family are on Epstein Island after Epstein pled guilty to state charges. I'm from Florida. I take my family to Disney World, not to Epstein Island. There are documents in the files that dispute the president's claim that he kicked Epstein out of his club. Allegedly, the president said that he asked Epstein to leave. Supported now, that's disputed though, statements from the manager of the club. Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see you flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump
I'm not
Bible.
mocking
That's
the
what
Bible.
you did.
That's
You made a joke, and I find offense to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book. Which is the best one? What you got?
Has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to clear something up that was said earlier and is frequently said, and is manifestly not true. And that is the supposed small number of crimes committed by immigrants or illegal immigrants in the country. That has been based on a poorly done study by the Cato Institute, and I believe the Cato Institute itself has even updated that study. The reason that we know that study is not true is that those statistics are not out there. For whatever reason, when somebody is arrested, even for very serious crimes, we do not have on the paperwork whether that person is a legal or illegal immigrant. Okay? If I go to one of my local sheriffs in Wisconsin and ask them how many illegal immigrants in your jail, they will say, I have no idea. We don't keep track of that. When I tour the federal prison right outside of my district, and I ask them, in this federal prison, how many of your inmates are illegal aliens, they will tell me, we have no idea. We don't keep track of that. So whenever you hear a Democrat or anybody, or a pundit, say that, oh, there's so few illegals committing crimes, it is based on nothing, because those statistics are not available anywhere. What I would offer in the next round of appropriation bills, if one of my Democrat colleagues wants to help me out, perhaps in appropriations we can get funds to add to all the paperwork whenever anybody is convicted of crime as to whether or not they are citizen or non-citizen. And then we will have the statistics. But otherwise, whenever you hear somebody say on MSNBC or wherever, oh, so few crimes are committed by illegal immigrants, they don't know what they're talking about because nobody has those numbers. Okay, there's the first thing. Now, the next thing I want to point out, we have had what I think is an unprecedented situation in Minnesota in which they are not assisting ICE in dealing with crimes that are going on up there. In other words, ICE is left to its own devices. When I talk to my local sheriffs, they tell me that whenever a federal agency is engaged in work in Wisconsin, they always make themselves available in case that federal agency needs assistance. This could be something like ICE under DI. It could be drug enforcement. It could be ATF. It could be FBI. It could be Secret Service. It could be the U.S. Marshal. Nobody that I have been able to find, any sheriff in the state of Wisconsin, is aware of any circumstances in which they did not make themselves available to federal law enforcement, either if they need somebody extra to do surveillance, to just park a marked car outside the area, to assist in apprehension of a criminal, if they need assistance with an additional SWAT team, if they need to transport somebody. Local law enforcement is always there. Now, you are not in charge of ICE, but you're in charge of several other agencies. Have you ever heard of anything like what's going on in Minnesota, where the governor or the local mayor refuses to give assistance to federal law enforcement?
I have in Portland and some other cities where they weren't cooperating. But as I said, I spent about 4 days. I did spend 4 days in Minnesota, and I believe many of the local law enforcement wish they could work with us to make their city safe.
Okay, now we'll switch to something else. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for doing this today. You're obviously very bright, obviously very confident, and something I love. You tolerate fools gladly, so I appreciate that trait. You suffer fools gladly. In hearings like this, we often focus on new initiatives undertaken by the department. Today, I'd like to give you an opportunity to discuss actions implemented under the Biden administration's Department of Justice, such as the Foreign Influence Task Force that you have since terminated. And you know, it's always rare to see anything in the government terminated. But could you elaborate on those decisions and highlight the accomplishments of your tenure at Justice?
Drop a new poll in the chat, y'all. You want to check that out?
We are out of time, but may I answer?
Try to make it as
Chairman?
bipartisan in the middle as I can, you know, for
The
overall
Biden
this chat may
administration
be
weaponized
politically.
the Foreign Corruption Practices Act. And on February 10th, President Trump issued an executive
I'll get it
order
up to
pausing
245.
for
Got 245 to
DOJ
vote. 245 to vote,
review.
chat.
Under Deputy Attorney General Blanche's supervision, a comprehensive review was led, and the department issued new guidelines protecting all Americans and protecting against the weaponization that happened under the Biden administration.
Time the gentleman has expired. Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New York recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, I went
Hey,
over to
Vicky.
the department yesterday for a couple of hours to review some of the unredacted
I'm not concerned about
materials.
better to loot immigrants.
And
not
I
an
am looking
invested person who broke
forward
the law
to
by
your
coming here
detailed
illegally. I
explanation
get that,
for why
Pro-Cop.
you have withheld almost half of the documents, which is required by the
What's
bill.
up, Vicky?
Now, obviously, there are 3 million documents, so I didn't get through much. But one thing I didn't see was the client list that you said you had on your desk a year ago.
Uh-oh.
I did, however, find a couple of important documents. An 86-page prosecution memo from the Southern District of New York and a draft indictment from Florida against Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. For reasons that I cannot understand nor are permitted by the bill, they were still redacted, even for members of Congress. So, Ms. Bondi, will you commit right here to immediately providing those 2 documents in unredacted form to members of Congress?
It's needed.
Not a complicated question.
Well, I guess it is for you because you have a law degree and those are privileged.
Oh, fuck.
Okay, they're not privileged, but we will discuss that later. I also found an email that I have right here.
She is spicy.
From Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted. And it included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege, there is no attorney-client privilege, and I see you're checking with your staff. And I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Will you commit to publicly providing the unredacted version of this so that the American people can understand the extent of Donald Trump's lies about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
You're about as good of a lawyer today as you were when you tried to impeach President Trump in 2016. Have you apologized for that in 2019?
So, will you unredact this? Will you
were
unredact
lead
this?
counsel on that. Privileged.
I'm asking you, will you unredact this?
Privileged.
You say a lot of tricky words.
I look forward to discussing this more. Now, these are obviously improper redactions.
And let me stop right there.
I'm talking. I'm
if they're
talking.
not privileged,
Quiet.
don't yell at me. If they're not
Mr. Chairman, would you
privileged,
stop the clock? This is on your time. It's not on Mr.
if they're
Goldman.
not
Even though
privileged,
you used your
if we review
improper
them and they're not-
redactions
you'll like my answer.
to
If we
continue
review
to
them and they're not
protect
privileged,
Donald
belongs to
we
the
will
member.
be happy to release them.
We'll
after
stop the
review.
clock. We'll stop the clock. Time belongs to the member. Go ahead.
Even though you used improper redactions to protect Donald Trump and other predators associated with Jeffrey Epstein, you did the exact opposite thing with the survivors and victims of this scheme. So their identification information was really the only thing required to be redacted, and it was not. And it's clear this was not a mistake. This was not by accident. This was not because you only had 30 days when you really used 75, and that doesn't even include all the hours last March that you were redacting it. But I'll tell you why it's clear it wasn't a mistake. There is an email entitled Epstein Victim List. There are 32 names. One is redacted. 31 are not. So someone looked at it and decided to redact something. And I will tell you that that is clearly intentional to intimidate these survivors and victims. Now, in an interview last week...
How will you tell me that's intentional?
In an interview last week, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche
You can't go off script.
said that any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. Well, thanks to the incredibly brave people sitting here behind you, we can actually ask them if that's true.
Oh, damn.
Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you, all of you, who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses
Gentleman's
to
time has
talk
expired.
to, and I yield back.
We will go to the good gentleman from North Carolina, Congressman Knott. Thank
May
you.
I have a moment, Congressman?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, they're bouncing it out, yo.
Here we go. Here's the photograph. This is why he wanted to repeat everything that had been said previously on Epstein. This is his state, New York. You probably don't even know who this is. Wahid Mohammed from Afghanistan.
Yes, because I'm no longer a prosecutor.
Convicted of assault. Wow, he represents New York.
That's
wow.
crazy. That's
Yet
a bad-
he doesn't
that's a bad
care about
response.
the illegal aliens convicted of crimes. Assault and homicide. No longer a prosecutor, so he doesn't care about his constituents. Here we go. Arson, El Salvador, Miguel Palacios.
Bondi gonna spin the block every time, bro.
Herman Flores Ramales, Mexico.
Bondi gonna spin the block every time, B.
Let's talk about the 70% of immigrants who are detained without a criminal conviction or arrest.
Stop the clock. Stop the clock.
Oh,
Time
damn.
belongs to Congressman Knott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Attorney General, I want to be sure that the American people understand exactly what we're referring to when we talk about sanctuary policies. They are often framed in sort of innocuous terms like, we refuse to take part in immigration law. And when you add up
Y'all 9 minutes
all
to
of
the
the
poll, y'all. 9 minutes
population
to the poll.
represented by these cowardly politicians in sanctuary jurisdictions, whether it's a county, city, or state, sanctuary jurisdictions
Margo,
account
she
for
tripping
roughly
out there, boy.
40% of the United States.
Vicky, you see it?
Now, in reality, it's much more than just a passive exercise. Is that not
I
correct?
don't know how you can defend pedophiles, bro.
It's unbelievably
What is this?
active.
What kind of world we living
and in
in,
terms of breaking down these terms, I want to break it down as clearly a term as I can. What is a federal detainer for the American people? Please describe it.
A federal detainer is when someone is held in federal custody.
Yes. And when a federal detainer is issued to local law enforcement, they are obviously in local or state custody, correct?
Yes.
And federal officers take note of that apprehension and they say, we want to come and apprehend him or her to deport them. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And in these sanctuary jurisdictions, whether it's California, Illinois, New York, or other places, even in North Carolina, there are sanctuary jurisdictions. That federal detainer often prompts not any cooperation, not any assistance, but a release onto the streets. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, and Congressman, a federal detainer is federal law.
Yes.
That people must abide by, yet these jurisdictions, many of these jurisdictions are not abiding by that.
And we hear a lot of talk from the other side about victims of violent crimes, sex crimes, murders, whatever it may be. But I want to be very clear. Illegal aliens who have been arrested for committing some of the most heinous crimes, they have been released by sanctuary cities, by sanctuary states, rather than being turned over to the federal government for deportation. Isn't that correct?
It is, and it's sad for all Americans that any jurisdiction would do that. These are some of the most violent criminals I think we've all seen.
It's sad that Americans got to sit here and listen to this bullshit, knowing that y'all around here supporting women who are getting sex trafficked by some of the richest and powerful men in the world. Going back to the fucking Prince Andrew and the monarchy. This is crazy. You got the fucking CEO, the founder of Victoria's Secrets in this shit too. This is wild. And for Pam Bondi to sit here and cape on this bullshit today is actually kind of crazy to me, because like, bruh, I get it, you're doing it for Trump, but this manifesto she has on all these members about crimes and illegals that have happened in their districts, absolutely crazy. Man, I appreciate y'all tapping in. Let's get back to it, man.
Violent crime is down almost 30% since President
Let me
Trump
go live on
took
TikTok,
office.
man. What's up?
Yes, and the number may be even better than that, but yes.
Good.
Yes.
True or false, the DEA has seized over 200,000 kilograms of cocaine since President Trump took office.
That's a lot of keys, man.
I believe so, and 78,500 kilos of meth and more than 260,000 kilos of cocaine.
Unbelievable.
That's lives saved every
Unbelievable.
day for all of us.
I got the
families,
keys,
for
keys,
children.
keys.
And then true or false, the Department of Justice under your leadership has a 92% success rate at the Supreme Court,
I believe so.
or ballpark.
Ballpark.
And then true or false, this administration is attacking the waste, fraud, and abuse that we have seen in places like Minnesota that is removing billions of hard-earned tax dollars from this country.
Absolutely, and President Trump is committed to doing that in every city in this country.
And
Wow.
Madam Attorney General, just to be very brief here, I want to be sure that you know that many on this committee made very serious efforts to try to amend the Epstein petition to give you the resources and the time to protect victims, to go through and to have the necessary runway to thoroughly go through that file. Unfortunately, those requests were met with refusal, and we were unable to make the necessary amendments. But thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
The good gentleman yields back. We turn to the good lady from California, Congresswoman Kamlager Dove.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Attorney General, for being here today. I want to talk with you about an issue on which there is broad bipartisan agreement: the importance of ensuring trust between the American public and those government officials who wield powerful law enforcement responsibilities. So, Attorney General, would you agree that it is important for law enforcement leaders to be honest?
Of course, as well as members of
Right,
Congress.
thank you. And would you include yourself as a law enforcement leader?
Of course.
Okay, thank you, thank you. You know, President Trump has also, he has referred to himself as the chief law enforcement officer of this country. So do you believe that President Trump is honest?
He is the commander-in-chief of the United States of
do you
America,
believe
and
that
not only
President
is he
Trump is
keeping
honest?
this country safe,
Do you
he
believe
is keeping
he is
this
honest?
world
It's
safe.
a simple question
Of
which you
course
didn't
I do.
answer.
He is
Okay,
the
thank you.
commander-in-chief.
Last June, Minnesota lawmaker Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, and their dog were brutally murdered in their home. And your USA's office in Minnesota investigated this crime and obtained a 6-count indictment of the murder suspect, stating that he had intent to kill, injury, harass, and intimidate Minnesota legislators. And I have the copy right here. I read through it. Yet a few weeks ago, President Trump suggested publicly that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was behind these murders, posting on his Truth Social account a video raising this conspiracy theory. And it wasn't true. And you know it wasn't true, or else you would not have brought an indictment against the subject. Do you know what else Trump has said? He has said he has cut gas prices by 1,400%. False. That he won the 2020 election.
Actually,
False.
gas is down
That
to
he
$1.99
didn't
a
know
gallon, thanks to
that he didn't know
not in my city. It's not, Pam Bondi.
California.
It's my time, Mr. Chair.
$2.99 in this city.
That he sent water to LA during the wildfires. False. That Governor Westmore of Maryland called him the greatest president of his lifetime. False. So many tales, too many to keep up. But I want to go back to what he said about Tim Walz. Do you agree that President Trump undermined public trust in law enforcement by suggesting that Governor Walz was involved in the Hortman murders?
I am not familiar with that statement.
Well, that is a disappointing response, and it is also why your office and Donald Trump have zero credibility, because I know, and you know, it was a right-wing extremist who murdered the Hortmans, and you and the president are being dishonest with the American people. Last fall, after the horrific shooting of Charlie Kirk, President Trump was asked if there were extremists on both the left and the right. And his exact words were, "I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy." Do you agree with this statement? You're taking too long,
I can't find
Madam Attorney General. But you know the answer, because your own department has addressed the question. In 24, the DOJ's research arm issued a report on domestic terrorism, stating that the number of far-right attacks continues to outpace all other types of terrorism and domestic violence extremists. The DOJ published the report, and after the president made those comments, the DOJ took the report down. And I sent you a letter asking you a simple question. Why did the Justice Department remove the data that shows right-wing extremists have killed more innocent people than left-wing extremists?
Did you refer to immigration enforcement as
she go.
domestic terrorism?
You should answer my
answer's
question.
yes.
You're on my time, but you won't. And what I am asking you to do is put the report back, restore the data. Stop scrubbing important data from your website. Stop taking down reports that you know the American people need to know about. There are violent, dangerous people out here with real threats, and the dishonesty from your agency comes from the covering up of these threats that could hurt American people and put our lives at rest. Do better. And with that, I
Damn.
yield back, Mr. Chair.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from North Carolina is recognized.
May I have 1 moment?
You may.
Hey, hold on
Her
now.
district includes Culver City, and she's not talking about any crime in her district. Nothing about helping crime in her district. She's not even worth getting into the details.
Well, thank you, Madam Attorney General, and we are grateful to have you here today. And let me just say that you've shown great perseverance today, and I think you're coming to the
Perseverance? You
last
been
lap
clapping
here
back, man.
of those of us that are left. But I applaud your strength, and I applaud your resolve.
Well, damn interns
Madam
all
Attorney
day.
General, as a
Overtime,
pastor
yeah.
for over 37 years now, I take serious issue with any attempts by agitators to disrupt church services or activities at houses of worship.
Come on, darling.
And I just want to take a moment to clarify some things. I realize you can't talk about pending cases per se, but I do want to ask some very general questions for clarification. Does the DOJ consider unauthorized entry into a house of worship to be protected activity under the First Amendment when undertaken by a member of the press?
Unauthorized
say,
with the
man, I know
intent
my
of
mic on.
disrupting, yes.
Okay.
Even
And-
if it's a blogger like Don Lemon.
Right. How
Blogger.
does the DOJ distinguish between news gathering activity and expressive or protest conduct when a press defense is asserted?
Congressman, I met with the pastor of that church, and what happened there was horrific. Of course, the press is welcome, and I would hope all houses of worship, whether it's a synagogue, whether it's a church, any house of worship. However, what happened here is a pending case again, but within the 4 corners of the indictment, they were, quote, gearing up for a resistance. They entered a house of worship, and I think the video speaks for itself. What happened in there, what the video doesn't show, is there were approximately 400 parishioners in there on a Sunday morning. Families, grandparents with canes, children upstairs in Sunday school their parents were blocked from getting to them once this resistance took place, and they had named it Operation Pull Up.
All right, Jamie, appreciate you tapping in for today, man. Make sure you subscribe.
They were
Go on
terrified.
Substack as well.
I think they've all said that, and nothing like that should happen in this country, and under my watch, it won't.
Thank you. And just to clarify, accosting members of a congregation and creating a scene marked by intimidation and threat inside a house of worship would not be protected First Amendment activity, correct?
Absolutely not, and a grand jury has indicted individuals over that.
Thank you. One other question, just shifting a little bit. You know, my home state of North Carolina has been making national headlines at times, and particularly in the city of Charlotte. We've made pleas
Appreciate y'all voting in
at
the
times
last poll.
for our governor to get involved, bring in the National Guard.
361 votes,
Our,
boy, that's a lot
Fraternal
of
Order
people. I
Police had
appreciate y'all.
pointed out that we were about 270 local cops below what we needed in order to adequately police the city. And yet the governor's declined to offer to partner with the federal government to bring in reinforcements to Charlotte. I want to give you just a few moments, really the balance of my time, to explain the impact that Memphis Safe Task Force has had on crime and safety in Memphis, because I know there was a place we saw that cooperation has tended to breed great results, and I would love to hear a little more about that.
Hey, Philip Greasy, hilarious, man.
Thank you. And I have numbers for you, too. Well, and we're all right here in D.C., we're all living right here in D.C., and I think we've seen the remarkable impact that it has working with members of the Democrat Party on this, with law enforcement, with the mayor, with the police chief, doing everything we can to make D.C. safe. As of February 9th, there were nearly 10,000 arrests. This is D.C. 1,000 illegal guns seized since the operation began, with carjackings down 81% from this time last year, and violent crime down 42%. D.C. is safer because of it. We know we had a National Guardsman shot, and we had a beautiful young woman killed. I went to her funeral, and I keep in touch with the National Guardsman who was shot, his parents. He's doing great. He's a miracle. Please continue to pray for him. I know my time is up, but same results I spoke about earlier in Memphis, and we're still working on that with the help of Make Memphis Safe Again.
Well, again, I think it just draws an incredible contrast between what we've seen happening in Minneapolis versus what we've seen happen in D.C., what we saw happen in Memphis, and what I would love to see in some ways, if we could ever get our governor to work with us in North Carolina, to happen in Charlotte. But with that, I yield back. Thank you.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
Brother Nathan.
Please recognize.
Appreciate you tapping in on
Thank
TikTok,
you. I
man.
seek
We're
unanimous
also live on
consent to
YouTube.
introduce into the record the research that Representative Kamlager-Dove and I referenced concerning the threat of right-wing domestic terrorism, which
Wait
the
on Jasmine
Department of
Crockett to
Justice
get here.
scrubbed
You know,
from
we
its
clock it with
website in
Jasmine Crockett.
September.
Without objection, the gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness because this witness has revealed that she has no intentions of answering questions. But instead, I'm going to ask some very basic questions really quickly of my colleague.
My girl,
Becca
we're in the
Ballard, if
lipstick
she will
now.
answer right or wrong, raping children.
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens.
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States.
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors.
Let's go.
Because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors.
That's right.
Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughing stock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ, as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country, because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massie, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on, and frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed.
She is preaching right now, y'all.
Don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ, because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact, $40. We know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps. Because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter, so let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, "this is a good one." Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up. And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history. An attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Lady yields. Gentleman from Missouri, gentleman from Kansas, the Attorney General, former Attorney General, Mr. Schmidt.
I've been waiting on Jasmine Crockett ass
Thank
all
you,
day.
Mr. Chairman.
You're waiting all day.
General Bondi, thanks for being here.
I know what y'all
Did you have
saying.
anything you wanted
Hey,
to say
everybody in the
before
chat. Everybody in the chat. Let me pause this real quick. Everybody in the chat.
Thank you, my friend, for
Let
many
me
years.
get y'all together. This is your first time here. You clearly don't know the game. Hold on.
Congresswoman.
I don't need to change shit around here, baby. This is a soundboard. You see the stream deck? It's on the soundboard. Just like the horns. Just like Drewski. Just like the shots. So guess what? Since you just got, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Guess what? My girl Jasmine Crockett came through on that one, baby. My girl Jasmine Crockett came through on that. We've been waiting for that all day because it's been some boring Democrats. It's been some boring Democrats. The girl say, listen, she going through names and lists and all this shit. I ain't with none of this. Either way, I appreciate y'all tapping in. We're going to get back to Pam Bondi. But my girl Jasmine Crockett had to come through and set it off. Hey, we're going to clip that up and drop it. Let's go.
Crockett to ask any questions because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted.
Oh, shit.
And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about.
Oh, shit.
Texas, from Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted. So what we talking about? Convict some of these perpetrators that rape these women that are sitting behind you, and you refuse to even acknowledge they are here.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a few seconds?
yield time, baby.
For the yelling. Thank you. General, did you have anything further to say?
They got to yield time.
Texas, convicted of homicide. Cecil Joseph from Dominican Republic. Texas, convicted for kidnapping, rape. Khalid Khan from Afghanistan. That's why they want to talk about Epstein and not what's happening in their own states.
Thank you, General. Thank you for being here. And this has been quite a spectacle to observe today.
That's
I think
crazy.
It's sad. I ran for Congress because I thought we had serious problems in this country.
Make sure y'all like and subscribe, man. That's crazy.
This performance today,
Blackberry real in here, man.
Some of my colleagues has not shored up my confidence that we are up to the
Blackberry
task.
real.
You and I served together for 8 years when you were Attorney General of Florida and I in Kansas. You served professionally. I'm glad to be able to serve with you in these new roles, and I'm glad you're there, both generally and today. Part of the reason I ran for Congress is because in my former role, I saw in the real world, in my state, the consequences of failed U.S. immigration and border security policy. And I'll spare you the lengthy recitation, but let me give you the short version. I sit here and think about a fellow who was running, I believe it was drugs for the cartels, and shot a police officer in Oklahoma, drove across the border into my state, kidnapped an old man, and then invaded a house and shot at cops before we ultimately neutralized him. He's in prison now for, I believe, the rest of his life. I'm thinking about a drunk driver who was in our country illegally, never should have been here, and one night killed
Hold on. Hump Catting 69 gave $2 for the smoke alarm. Listen, go put some batteries in your smoke alarm. Hump, listen, man, I appreciate the dollars.
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
But guess what? I ain't changing nothing. I don't even have a smoke detector in my office. Check that out. I have no smoke detectors in my office. I would move the camera around, but I want to show y'all my whole house, right? I have no smoke detectors here. The smoke detector battery sound is coming from here. So make sure that y'all like and subscribe, because guess what? We troll over here, baby. Professional lobbyists, professional political, giving professional insight. But right now, we're just reacting to my girl Jasmine Crockett saying and Pam Bondi in this oversight committee, man. Listen, I appreciate you, Catting69, supporting the channel. If you want to go ahead and support the channel as well, drop a little change in there. Go ahead and do it. But I'm not even asking for that. What I am asking you to do is go ahead, if you are on Substack, go ahead and hit Hip Hop Lobbyist, spelled the same way, .substack.com. Make sure you check out some of the articles that we're dropping on Substack. Make sure we're breaking down these elections. Also, make sure that you like and subscribe. Let's see if we can hit 9,700 subscribers today. When I checked, it was like 96. We were hovering right under there. We're about 20-something away. Oh, we're about 11 away. So if 11 of y'all want to join the channel, support the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Let's get to 9,700 before the stream's over. But let's get back into that. My girl Jasmine Crockett, boy, she gonna kill it
Young
every time.
deputy on southern Johnson County, Kansas, who was making a traffic stop on another individual.
Appreciate that.
Driver ran into him, never should have been here, shouldn't have happened.
Hey,
Thinking about
Robert,
a guy
you
who was
seen it?
deported repeatedly, came back and ultimately murdered, I believe it was 4 people in Kansas City, Kansas, and then fled to Missouri
Teddy,
and
I don't
killed
know
the 5th
about
guy.
that.
He died
I have a
in
different
prison.
opinion about lobbying.
Thinking about a guy we prosecuted who wasn't supposed to be in this country, who
Hey,
raped a
Z-Lab, you
child
know
in
what
a
time
little
it
rural
is.
county up north on the
Some
Nebraska
people call
border.
him
We
a
sent
mute,
her to
Congressman, out of respect. There's nothing happening here. It's just a friendly debate back and forth. Some people call it the African ceiling bird. Like, I hit it one time. It was, oh, he has the African ceiling bird on his chat. Like, you know what? I had never heard about it. I guess in some Caucasian circles, that's what they call it, right? Cool. That's amazing. I also have this amazing clip
$40.
from Bad Boy. So, not Bad Boy, Baby Boy. So guess what? If it costs too much,
$40.
I'm gonna hit it with that. But if you get out of pocket in the chat, if you ever get out of pocket in the chat, just know that.
Yes! Yes! Fuck you too! Long titty, no nipple having ass bitch.
So we have a lot of variety on the chat, on the soundboard at least. But let's get back to this, man. We got Congressman speaking. We got Pam Bondi on. We ain't gonna be here forever. We gotta pick my son up from daycare real soon. But I appreciate y'all tapping in and watching the stream with your boy today, man.
Minneapolis. We haven't made headlines like Memphis. We haven't made headlines like Los Angeles. And you know why? Because our cops are professionals and our politicians, by law, allow them to do their job and to work with federal agents for safe handoffs in order to do everything that's supposed to be done, justice under state law, and the justice of deportation on the back end. So I want to do something that's been rare here today, General. I want to ask you about public policy. Donald Trump won't be president forever. I would like to lock in some of these gains we have made in public safety. Should we be exploring the idea, for example, of beefing up 287G partnerships, or maybe replicating that so that state prosecutors can work more closely with federal prosecutors to get deportation orders as well as state
Nobody in the
convictions?
district care about the Epstein files. That's what he's saying.
In terms of sanctuary jurisdictions, when a sanctuary jurisdiction says as a matter of politics, go pound sand to the feds, we won't honor your detainers, so they release those people I'm talking about into their communities. And those people commit another crime of property or violence against citizens. Should those citizens have some type of civil redress against the jurisdiction that as a matter of public policy turned those people loose who created the new victims?
Yeah, and Congressman, it's risking the lives of all of the citizens of that jurisdiction.
And you've been sued a lot, or the administration has, by folks who don't like your policies.
Hundreds of times.
You've won many of those.
Yes.
Isn't it the case that the law says under Rule 65 that when you win those and there's a wrongfully entered injunction that there's supposed to be a monetary remedy for that, so there's a cost?
Yes.
And didn't the president direct you and other agency heads to start seeking bonds in those cases?
Yes.
And should we beef up the law in that area by codifying that requirement going forward?
I would love to
All
discuss
these
that.
softball
Thank you,
doctors.
General.
What a
Thank you
good
for
shit.
being here.
Gentleman yields back. Well done. Some of the questions he raised, we plan on taking up in a markup in a couple weeks on the whole sanctuary jurisdiction issue. With that, I recognize the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Attorney General, for taking the time to speak with us. We certainly really appreciate it. I've got a series of questions for you that we can get through pretty quickly, I think. Can you tell me, is it true that the Biden-Harris DOJ raided President Trump's home?
They did.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ allow Jack Smith to spy on over a dozen Republican members of Congress?
Absolutely.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ seize the phone of a sitting Republican congressman?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and Jack Smith pay at least $20,000 to confidential human sources to provide information on President Trump?
At least.
At least. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and FBI fail to apprehend the suspect who placed pipe bombs near the Capitol ahead of January 6th?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ target parents as domestic terrorists?
Absolutely.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ target pro-life Catholics, going so far as to interview a priest and a choir director?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ send FBI SWAT teams to arrest pro-life advocates with no criminal histories?
Yes.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ use the FACE Act to target pro-life advocates while it allowed anti-life agitators to vandalize, destroy, and firebomb pregnancy resource centers and churches?
Multiple times, I believe.
Multiple times. Did the Biden-Harris DOJ ever determine who leaked the Dobbs decision?
I can't discuss that. No, under Biden-Harris.
Got it.
No.
Did the Biden-Harris DOJ and FBI
Well, they had all these questions
target
lined up. That's all it
whistleblowers
is.
for revealing waste, fraud, and abuse within the department?
And I'm quite sure people get it by now. If you've been on the channel before, you've seen this back and forth where I kind of give my insight. You know, I've been in lobbies for 16 years now. I haven't touched policy in a while, but policy is typically the same thing, these committee meetings and everything else, to where you may have a member basically say, hey, you know what, hey, I know you're coming before us. I got a couple questions for you. It'll be easy out the park. You know, the other side's going to attack you. Both parties do this. And essentially, he's getting all the softball questions that she's prepared for because she has the binders, as you see the lady behind her, has everything detailed for the Democrats, so where she's not going to answer the Epstein stuff. She's not going to really answer anything of substance out there. It's just going to be political back and forth, which it really doesn't honestly help the American people that are looking for actual answers, because you are the chief prosecutor in all of these 50 states and territories. So you control, you're like top law enforcement, top dog, right? So I do think that there's a good chance that a lot of people that are on the fence like, listen, I don't care about other shit. I want to make sure that my daughter and my kids and my friends' kids are protected from these damn pedophiles, these super ultra wealthy pedophiles. And the issue is, respectfully, Royal Palm Beach High School, which is one of the schools that was listed in a Netflix documentary about Epstein. I actually went to that high school the same year the shit was happening, which is crazy to me. I transferred to schools after that, went to Suncoast, but it's a fact of like, damn, imagine you're at a school with 1,600 kids and you're thinking everybody's going through regular high school, regular life, but then you have these super ultra wealthy guys that are actually preying on your classmates. It's actually sickening, really sickening when you think about it. So I don't support that at all. I don't have friends that are pedophiles. Like Jasmine Crockett was saying, I don't have friends that are pedophiles. All my friends are above standing. Like they may trick off and whatever it may be, like some regular grown man shit, but nobody looking at no damn kids. And that's absolutely crazy. But let's get back to Pam Bondi here. See what she's talking about before we wrap this up. We've been here about 3-4 hours now. So I got to go eat for real.
It's our local law enforcement working as a team throughout this country and our great state and federal prosecutors.
Yep. And how have robberies trended? Have they gone, even if they've just gone up or down?
Robberies, all violent crime, all violent crime. Violent crime has decreased as well as robberies.
So murders, violent crime, the country is more safe now. It's fair to say.
Statute of limitations run on anything that has to do with Epstein
is
is a waste of U.S. taxpayer money. I
And
don't believe that,
Director
Candyman.
Patel is working tirelessly to catch those. I'm sure you've been seeing.
I don't like statute of limitations. I believe in some states, yes, but I think that we're hitting a point where this man took the easy way out, right? These victims still have to live with this. So there's no statute of limitations for the victims. There's no statute of limitations for the trauma that they have to deal with and everything else. So yes, we're wasting taxpayer dollars, quote unquote, by your synopsis on having this conversation, but what about the victims? Because that's what this is really for. This isn't about Epstein convicting Epstein. You can't convict a dead man. Let's be real. We are actually trying to get some justice for the victims to understand this tangled web of bullshit. But then honestly, we got to sit back and say, well, damn, okay, how hard are these people going to cape? Not just for Donald Trump, but for these rich ass oligarchs, these wealthy ass motherfuckers who, you know, have been doing shit Hollywood's been talking about for years, right? It's absolutely sickening. So it's not about a statute of limitations for policy. It's about the fact of, again, there's no statute of limitations for the victims who have to deal with the trauma of being molested, raped, sexually assaulted, or sexually trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein and his cohorts. And all the people that were listed in the Epstein files that you can go see and piece shit together. That's the part. So yeah, I think it's a greater part of, okay, if they're not going to convict these motherfuckers, expose the fucking pedophile. Just like we have the sex offender registry, right? Do the same shit with these rich ass motherfuckers. Have people, the same way these motherfuckers started boycotting Target last year, remember that? Have the same people start boycotting Victoria's Secrets. And all the people that are connected to the organizations that supported these fucking co-conspirators and pedophiles and other shit. That's what the fuck, there's no statute of limitations on that shit. Tear Victoria's Secret's ass down, tear all these motherfucking corporations down, all these oligarchs. If Amazon was a part of it, my wife couldn't order shit else again from Amazon. I'll cancel Prime today. Okay? That's what the fuck I'm talking about. There's no statute of limitations on that. Let's get back to this though.
With Jeffrey Epstein, and even myself, I had no idea that there was actually a sitting Democrat Congresswoman who had taken substantial.
You can slide, baby. You got 3 seconds. You can keep sliding, baby.
Only when
Robert,
that
appreciate
came light on the floor with the potential resolution, and you would think there would be more outrage on those types of things if they were going to be taken.
I have sisters, I don't have no daughters. That's what the fuck
we do
I'm
know the
thinking
performance value of what goes on in
I got
this,
a lot of female friends.
this committee.
Platonic female
I want to talk
friends,
about
and that's the
the
shit
big
I'm talking
things
about. Like, listen.
that Department of
How you
Justice
protect their kids?
is doing, and when I look at the dramatic decrease in crime in this country in the last year since the Trump administration has come, you'll see the board behind me. Violent crime plummets across major U.S. cities. And I guess so my first question would be, and when it comes to the big stuff, how are you guys getting this stuff so right? What contributes from your perspective to this dramatic decrease in crime in major U.S. cities under the Trump administration?
When I first took office, I met with all of our agencies. And the one thing that stuck with me, that one of the heads of the department said to me, one of the law enforcement department heads, President Trump has taken the handcuffs off us so we can keep the people of America safe. And that's what he's done. He has given our law enforcement officers the tools that they need and the backing that they need, the support that they need to combat violent crime and all crime throughout this country. And, you know, I'd be remiss, we've talked about the FBI, we've talked about DEA a bit, but can I please brag about ATF? Rob Sakata and Dan Driscoll, of course, who has been our acting head of ATF, have done a remarkable job stopping guns from flowing into Mexico, not harassing gun owners. 26,965 violent crime cases have been initiated, including more than 4,300 firearms trafficking cases. More than 1,200 of those are tied to gun trafficking in Mexico.
Now, pause it real quick. I just saw something that's kind of crazy. Any fans out there, just you'll see it later. James Vanderbeek, famous actor from Dawson's Creek, has passed away. His family announced, I just read the push notification a minute ago. Dawson Creek actor James Vanderbeek passed away. His wife announced, haven't really read all the way into it yet, but if you're a fan of Dawson's Creek, I watch episodes here and there. You know, good show, but honestly, I'll be real. The craziest part of life, I'm 40, right? The craziest part of life is seeing people that you kind of grew up with or you watch kind of pass away, whether they're famous or regular people. And I think that's a mental part you didn't really have to never really get used to. It's like, God, no, man, like people dying. But James Vanderbeek passed away, Dawson Creek actor, died at 48. Completely sad and unfortunate. Let's get back to Pam Bondi here. Just wanted to share
I
that
talk
briefly.
to them almost daily.
Thank you.
And they're working so hard.
Well, thank you, Attorney General. Again, you know, I look back at this last year, and we've had this historic tax cut. Yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, the National Cancer Foundation ran full-page ads thanking Congress, the administration, for doing more for cancer research than has ever been done before. I was just meeting with Habitat for Humanity out in the hallway, and they came and thanked us for doing more than's ever been done for Habitat for Humanity. So there's been so many accomplishments, but I really think this crime is the biggest deal of all. But I do have some concerns on this issue, and those also are respect to how we keep people safe with sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And I remind everyone, and as I'm sure you know, Madam Attorney General, that when we had the terrible terrorist attacks of 9/11, The number one recommendation of the 9/11 Commission was to reduce barriers between all levels of law enforcement. They specifically pointed to things like fusion centers, Joint Terrorism Task Force, and getting local law enforcement and federal law enforcement to work together and communicate on a regular basis. And I would just like your perspective, because we have a more complex global threat than any time since World War II. We still have Islamic terrorism. We have spies from China, Iran, Russia, all these things. And what does sanctuary cities and states do for communication law enforcement? How does it make us less safe?
Sanctuary cities and states are attempting to prevent communication among all the law enforcement agencies. And of course, that's keeping all of America less safe, especially when the violent criminals are fleeing to those jurisdictions because they believe they're protected. But with all of our joint task forces, I see it every day, Congressman, how well, despite what these liberals are trying to do, Donald Trump's administration is working tirelessly to protect all of Americans, and all of our agencies working hand in hand to keep America safe.
Well, you guys are getting the big stuff right. You look at that decrease in crime across the country, you ought to take a victory lap. Well done.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here on this long day. And I want to thank you most of all for your leadership in your whole career defending victims. And now I want to take a moment to talk about you protecting victims from a different kind of child abuse, that medicalized child abuse that goes under the banner of gender-affirming care, that far too many of my Democrat colleagues enthusiastically support and unapologetically support. Shortly after returning to office, President Trump signed an executive order directing HHS to review.
Republicans doing everything to cape for Pam Bondi today. And she's been a firebrand. I haven't seen Pam Bondi clap back like this since the last time she was in the Senate, to be real. But I don't think that Democrats are really prepared for the fact of her having a list of crimes and immigrants and things that have happened in individual districts that, honestly, these members most likely didn't know about. Now, she did fuck up. She did fuck up when she was like, you know what, this is anti-Semitic. And the lady, the Congresswoman, came back and said, how dare you come at me with my grandfather, my grandparent. I lost a grandparent, essentially. I don't know if grandmother, grandfather, I was just trying to correct myself there. I lost them in the Holocaust. So how are you going to call me anti-Semitic? And I think a part of it is you really get to a point of, even with Lucy Macbeth, and I love Lucy Macbeth, it seemed like they were having some good like back and forth. I know what you did for my son when he was being victimized by the media and all the different things happened. And all of a sudden, that flipped because Pam Bondi isn't giving these liberals that were killed in Minnesota by ICE, say liberals, you know, that's the people label them, right? They're not giving them the just due process that everyone else got, right? Which is kind of unfortunate for what it is. I think they're going back and listening to victim testimony. Let's hear what they got to say here.
Possible. I still get joint pains and weird pops in my back, but they were far worse when I was on the blockers. A month later, when I was 13, I had my first testosterone injection. It's caused permanent changes to my body. My voice will forever.
Oh, that's a transgender issue. I'm not talking about that today. I'm sorry, but listen, I think they said there's only 10 athletes in the country. I have a good friend that's a trans man. I don't discuss the issue. I honestly feel like, you know, I have, and my man's on the channel, it is what it is, right? It's a fact of saying, you know what, cool. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I got a black friend, right? You know how people do. But at the same time, you know, I realize that, you know, this is a person, this is a human. They got a life to live, and people, there are people, heterosexual, straight people that do worse shit than how you're trying to victimize transgender people, right? For what it is, respectfully. But at the end of the day, to Pam Bondi, I really feel that you can only protect the people for so long before you start looking crazy, right? I would never protect a pedophile. I would never protect somebody who has some crazy ass allegations or accusations out there. It's like, listen, bro, the rumor alone is out of pocket. So what the fuck? I'm not there. Where I'm at, I'm gonna defend somebody for bullshit. I really don't defend no bullshit, to be honest. I don't even want people to defend my bullshit. And I don't even do none of that crazy shit these motherfucking oligarchs and rich ass motherfuckers on. But all put together, I think Pam Bondi and the Republicans need to have a wake up call, because there's some white lily Caucasian, Lily Pulitzer wearing woman in America that's been a victim. And they're sitting here watching you with this bullshit. And even though they may be diehard Trump, diehard conservative, diehard everything, they lost a little bit of their soul watching this shit. Like, damn, these are the people that's going to defend this. Like, I thought you were with. They're going to be like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, thought we were voting for us, not this bullshit. I thought you were protecting us, not this bullshit. And as more of this starts to be uncovered, I think Republicans like Tom Massey are going to sit back and say, you know what? I have daughters, I have sisters, I have aunties, I have a mother that could have been not mixed up in Epstein shit, but it could have been a victim regardless. And that's who the fuck I'm fighting for. And we need more men like that. Because a lot of people don't believe women. But I firmly believe that there'll be some justice here. And I hate for these women to have to relive this shit and have to go through and stand up and testify and hear all this nonsense. But it's like, you know what? If y'all weren't as brave as you are right now, to at least get to this conversation to testify, none of this shit would have happened and they would never have a conversation about it. So let's peel the onion back, have a conversation, expose these rich ass motherfuckers and get the shit going. But all put together, I'm done with Pam Bondi today, man. I've seen enough caping for Donald Trump. I've seen enough caping for pedophiles. I've seen enough caping for rapists, and I don't support that on my channel for what it is, right? But either way, I appreciate all the people who did tap in today. We've had some technical issues. We had technical issues that had us go about, what, 3 or 4 streams? We've had over 40,000 people tap in with us across all streams today, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, all of it. I appreciate every single one of y'all tapping in. Let me get to the main thing that I need to see. Hold on. Here we go. About 100 of y'all still here with me today right now. 17,000 watch this last stream, but all put together. Thank y'all. I'm gonna chop this up and get some edits out, and get some clips out, and get my contents out. But more than anything, all I ask
is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, you know I gave you everything I had.
I gave you everything I got. I appreciate every single one of y'all tapping in on the stream today. Thank y'all. Make sure you like and subscribe. Did we hit 9,700 subscribers today? Let me see if we hit it. Are we there? Oh, 7 away. It's okay. We're going to get there, right? Appreciate y'all tapping in. Y'all have a great one. Be safe, man. I'm going to be back on tonight. We got to be back on tonight, man. All right, I'm out.